Hello. So today we're going to speak about increasing the profit in your business. We all go into business to make money. That's the truth of it. I think at the end of the day, once we come to terms with that, the more we can move on and actually start making the money that we want and deserve. What's interesting though is when you do start your business, it usually takes a little while to make the money you want. And I do find that a lot of entrepreneurs live paycheck to paycheck for many years while they start their business, and some can't even pay the bills while they're doing it. There's a stat out there that says 90% of businesses or 80% of businesses fail within their first 5 years. This is very true for the simple sake that people run out of money or the ability to keep running their business because financially they're just strapped. So this talk today is numbers based. It's going to give you a little bit of insight into your business, but the biggest thing I want you to take away is that understanding profitability in your business is probably the most important part of being successful. You can do more sales, you can do more marketing, you can be a better leader. There's a lot of components to running a business. But if you're not profitable, none of that actually matters. You need to get profitable to take things to the next step. So if anything today, I'll introduce you to a couple core concepts, but really I challenge anyone who feels like maybe they don't fully understand how to become more profitable in their business to take the next step and really get in depth with where their finances are at and what they can do strategically to move their business forward in a financial sense. So I'll give you a bit of a story too of where some of this can come from and my own personal experience working in the financial side of running people's businesses. I've watched many business owners go out and do what it takes to increase revenue. In fact, almost to the sense of ego-based increasing revenue. All they care about is increasing sales so they can show that they had the biggest number and they did such big numbers in sales that they can be so proud of what they did. The truth is, a lot of people who are just focused on revenue because of their ego don't actually have much money to show for it for profit at the end of the day. I've seen many people run $500,000, $1 million businesses and not even have enough money to pay a mortgage in the end. And so many people are unaware of this because they just look at this giant business and say, you must be making millions. But the truth is, it takes a lot of money to run a big business. And the same when you're running a small business. Take a lot of pride in the sense that you actually have a lot of control in your ability to make more money, just if you tweak a couple little things, which we're going to go over today. So my biggest thing for you today is just to take away one action step that you will implement to change your profitability in your business. It doesn't have to be super complex. Some of the stuff we're going to go through is actually very simple, but just for you to commit to one thing that you say, I will do to increase the profitability in my business. So let's take a look. So in truth, there's three ways, very basic ways to increase the profitability of your business. The first we all know about, and it's the one we focus on the most, it's increasing sales. Very common. The more sales you do, the more you can make. Sometimes. Very, very interesting. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it actually costs you money to make money. The other thing you have a lot of control over is actually increasing your profit margins. So what this looks like is, say you go out and do a sale and you sell $100. Maybe right now you make $50 from that 100, so maybe you make 50% of what you sell. Well, if you can look at decreasing what it costs to sell that product or decreasing what it costs to provide that product or service, you can actually increase your margins up to say 60 or 70%. And actually enables you to make quite a bit more money for the same amount of sales that you actually do. One of the most easiest ways of doing this is actually just increasing how much you charge for that product or service. A lot of us as entrepreneurs undervalue ourselves. We don't actually know our true value. So we can get into that a little bit today as well. And obviously the last thing is just to decrease costs. Again, a lot of us, if we're running a business, can get a little bit of an ego behind ourselves and spend a lot of money on things we don't really need. Things that are flashy, that look nice, but you know what? They don't serve the purpose and don't make us more money in what we're doing. One of the biggest things I see in this one is for those of you who are providing service-based, home-based services, getting nice vehicles too quickly. A lot of people like to get out there and get a nice vehicle right away and be flashy for the client, but be paying a huge amount of payments on the vehicle, which basically you're running a business to pay for your vehicle, which is kind of silly when you really think about it. So let's take a look at how to actually manipulate some of these things to actually work well in your business. So on the right-hand side here, I've got a snapshot into somebody's business. And we're going to look briefly at what these kind of things are, as well as kind of what we can do to manipulate with them. So the first thing is income. So income, here's the term for it. It's pretty basic. It's money paid by the client. So ultimately, any money that's coming into your business that the client is paying you. Pretty self-explanatory. The next thing is your cost of goods. So what that is it's anything tied to providing the product or service. So to give you an example, so if you're running a painting business per se, the cost of providing the service is the painters painting the house and the product being put on the house. Something that's not cost of good or something that's not cost of providing service is, say, marketing. So you might have people go out door to door to help market your business. That's a marketing expense. That's totally separate. But the cost of goods, the painting and the product, all are related to actually providing that product or service. Everything else is just related to overhead, which we'll get into in a sec here. The next thing you're going to want to know about is what is your gross margins. So your gross margin is the percentage of profit that you're making from every product or service that you sell. So in a sense, you're looking at how much you're bringing in minus how much I have to spend, the cost of goods, to do that product or service, and then just divide that by the income again. And you're going to get a percentage that you actually make from every job. It's kind of like saying, okay, I provide a product for $100. It costs me $50 to provide that product, so I make about $50. So you go, okay, great, 50 over 100 equals 50%, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how you calculate your gross margin, and that's right here. Gives you kind of an idea of this side of the business. The next thing is overhead. So overhead is all the other costs that are not associated with that product or service, but they're still costs of doing business. So you can see here like rent, phone, admin, marketing, heat and hydro, maybe having like a staff member in the office, something like that. But they're not directly tied to providing that product or service. They're just parts of cost of doing business. The biggest difference between cost of goods and overhead is the cost of goods is usually a percentage actually tied to what you're actually producing. So if I produce $1,000 worth of work, 50% always goes towards cost of goods. With overhead, I could provide $1,000 worth of work and I still have the same amount of overhead. Even if I did $10,000 worth of work, rent will still be about the same. My landlord won't charge me more. So it gives you an idea. Cost of goods is very much tied to providing that product or service. Overhead is just there regardless of how big your business is. And the last thing, which is the most important thing of today, is understanding your break even. So break even, how you calculate that is you take your overhead. So you take all these costs here. So there's the total right there, $2,000 say. And you divide it by your gross margin. So your percentage right here of profit. And from that, what you find out is you actually find out how much money it takes how much money you have to sell basically to make $0. At which point you break even on your business. And that's a very important number to know because then you can figure out, okay, every month, how much do I need to sell just to break even? Not even to pay for anything or to take any profit draw for myself. How much do I need just to break even in the business? And that will really assist you in making sure you're making the right decisions in your business. So let's take a look at this in actual reality and see how this impacts break even all the way through. So I want you to stare here as we go through stuff, but stare at the break even constantly as we kind of change some of these numbers in this formula and see how much the break even changes. So right now what you're staring at is a snapshot into somebody's business. This is a financial snapshot of what, let's say, is a cleaning business. So someone that provides cleaning services for other clients. Right now, in the month of December, they did $2,000 worth of work. It cost them $1,500 just to provide that through the products that they bought, making them about 25% profit from every job that they did. Overall, they also had rent, phone, admin, marketing expenses, staff, and even heat and hydro to pay for. At the end of the day, what that meant, they had $2,000 worth of expenses, which means they were actually at a profit loss of about $1,500. So they actually lost $1,500 for the month. So they actually paid money to basically run their business. Which means if you do the calculation, 2,000 divided by 0.25, you get 8,000, and that's your break even. So they had to spend 8,000, or they had to produce $8,000 just to break even, which you can see they were nowhere near that. Now they could have freaked out and said, I'm just going to increase revenue, because that's one of their options. They could increase their sales to 8,000 just to break even, which a lot of us might go after and try and do, but there are some other options here. So let's take a look at what these other options are. So let's say $2,000, great. That's how much they produced in the month. What could they have done? Well, first let's look at their cost of goods. It's $1,500. Does it need to be $1,500? Let's just say hypothetically they bought 3 products all at $500 each. Say a product for the floors, a product for the walls, maybe a product for the bathrooms. Let's just say again, hypothetically, each one of those products was $500. So that's $1,500 worth of product. Okay, cool. What if there was a more expensive product that actually did all 3 areas, but it was $1,000? Sometimes cutting back on your cost of goods doesn't mean getting cheaper products. Sometimes it means getting more premium products to be able to allow you to do a better job. So let's just say hypothetically they bought that $1,000 product instead of buying 3 $500 products. Boom. Okay, now they're making 50% on their job, which is great. And look at this. It brought their break even down to 4,000. It was 8,000 and brought it down by half. Just by making a $500 change, they now have $4,000 less worth of work to do in order just to break even. Pretty dramatic difference. Let's keep going with this. So let's look now at their overhead. So like I said, one of the biggest things entrepreneurs make mistakes in the beginning is getting office space. So let's move this person back into their home and pretend rent is no longer an issue. Okay, break even just went down by another 1,000. Let's keep looking. Here's another big thing. They hired staff. They have paid someone $1,200 to help them clean when they're still losing $500 just to do the work. Why are you even in business if you're just going to pay everyone else all your profit? Especially in the beginning, don't hire staff if you can't afford to pay yourself as well. So really look at this as something that, you know what, maybe you have to get down and do the work more yourself, at least for the first couple months, until you can afford it through increasing the income that you bring in your business. So let's get rid of the staff member. Okay. Wow, look at that. It went down to $600 now. All they have to do is produce $600 to break even in their business, and then they can start making money. And if you look now, they're actually cash positive for the month. They actually made $700 for the month. Very simple thing to do. All we did was decrease their cost of goods by getting higher end product, move them back home in their business, and let their staff member go for the time being until they were ready to take on something more. We didn't even touch how much they were making in their business. Now let's say we look at this. Marketing. I always believe that marketing should be somewhere between 7 and 10% of what you're actually producing for the month. So they're only spending about $100. Let's increase that to $200. And let's say by doing that, they're able to get another $1,000 worth of sales. Okay, so now they've increased their revenue, they've cut back on costs, they've spent a little bit more on marketing, but now look at this. They made $1,600 for the month because they decided to spend that extra $100 on marketing to actually increase the revenue for their business. So what's interesting about this is that we just looked at a business that was way in debt, no chance of breaking even anytime soon, and just by making a few little alterations, made it a quite profitable little endeavor. Now as they grow their business, if they keep these stats and numbers, they can slowly increase the amount of profit they're making and be much, much more efficient in the way they go out and attack their business. So I know this is just a bunch of numbers, and I know that sometimes it can be tough to look at an Excel sheet and really take a ton away from it. The biggest thing I want you to realize is you have 3 ways to increase profit in your business. You can increase sales, which we looked at. You can increase the margins, how much you make per sale. Or you can decrease costs, how much you're spending on stuff that's not making you money. All I want you to do today is pick one area in your business that you want to impact to increase profit. Are you going to increase your sales? Are you going to increase your margins? Or are you going to decrease some costs on things that don't make you money? So pick one of these today, dissect your business in this way, and take a look, what is your biggest opportunity to make profit in your business? And that's it. So I trust today helped you out a ton, and I'll see you out in your next Best Mindset session.